Welcome to our podcast, Redeemed. Once again, where we just try to look through the scriptures and try to pick out some things that apply to a Christian in his normal life, if you will. We were finishing up Acts, and then we're going to look at some things in 2 Kings. And just there's a lot of interesting things going on.
Yeah.
So we're in the last part of kind of Kings. Like I said, we haven't covered a whole lot of the different kings. I would highly recommend going back and reading the whole book, start to finish. But I do want to kind of pick out a couple here at the end that I think are important because it's going to set the kind of the time frame and the path for where Jerusalem is headed.
Yeah, the way 2 Kings ends shows you how the spiral begins. And it spirals fast.
Yep, it does spiral fast. And it also shows you the difference between when a good king is on the throne and when a bad king is on the throne. And it's amazing to me that when the good king is on the throne, God's anger is stemmed a little bit so that it actually gives him more time.
Yeah.
God was going to wipe him out a lot quicker and hand him off into captivity. But because of this one king that we're going to talk about, it kind of stemmed the tide a little bit.
Yeah.
And so it should give us some hope, if you will, because even though things seem kind of dark in our world right now, we do matter.
Yeah.
And if we're willing to humble ourselves and do the things that we're supposed to do, then there is still hope for our nation, for his forgiveness.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the reason I say that is because if you kind of compare what was happening in Kings in Jerusalem and stuff, it's not a lot different than what's happening today. You know what I'm saying?
You can draw a lot of similarities.
And so it kind of frightens me because at some point there is an end to God's patience. But at the same time, if we're doing what we're supposed to do, God can be even more long-suffering than we can possibly imagine. So I think there's some pretty important things, and so we'll kind of pick and choose and kind of bring a few things together over the next couple of podcasts. First, I want to start with we're heading out with Hezekiah. He was a good king. Did a fairly good job of ruling. It was said that he was one that followed the Lord. But towards the end of his rule, there's a couple of important things that happen. One is he gets an illness. He asks the Lord for. He didn't want to die. Basically, he whines a little bit.
I was going to say the prophet told him that this is what the Lord says: put your house in order because you are going to die. You will not recover.
Which to me that wouldn't be so bad either. If the prophet came to me and said, hey, you're going to die in a week, I'd be like, sweet.
Clean everything up, put a nice little bow on everything, go lay in bed.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
But he's got to wait. You're just laying there like, now?
Can we just do
tomorrow?
this today?
Yeah. I'm good.
Lord, I only needed 3 days. I'm going to wait another week. But that wasn't good enough for Hezekiah. He wanted more time. So he pleads and begs with God, and God gives him more time. Now, I kind of have mixed emotions about this. Because, God had a plan on how it was all supposed to end. And Hezekiah was supposed to die of this illness, and then we continue on. But because God was lenient and gave him some more time, which, I don't think anything ever takes God by surprise. So he knew what was going to happen.
Right.
But at the same time, in those few years that he got extra, he had a son.
He screwed things up.
In a way.
This is where the spiral comes.
Yeah. He has a son, and his name is Manasseh. And as you'll see with a lot of these different kings, they don't really do a good job of raising their sons, if you will.
It sure feels that way, doesn't it?
And I'm sure it's because there's a disconnect between the kings and their sons.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm sure that the king is not going out there playing baseball and stuff with their son. And so I'm sure it would be very hard to pass down the things that the son needed to know while being a king. And he had multiple wives and concubines. You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on. He had more than one son.
Yeah. Yeah, why did this son get to be the hero?
I don't know. But he had this son, and his name is Manasseh. And Manasseh is by far the worst king that Judah ever had. Absolute worst. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. So,
this guy.
Sometimes we can look at God and say, well, this isn't a good plan. And in Hezekiah's, this is not a good plan, Lord. I don't want to die from this illness. I need more time. And in the end, if he had died and that son had never been born, it would have been interesting to see which direction history went.
Yeah, it would have. Because I agree with you. I still think they would have. They were heading to captivity one way or another, I believe. But how it would have happened would have been an interessante story, if you will.
And just living under the rule of that King Manasseh is going to be basically hellish. You know what I'm saying?
Not for a short period of time either.
Yeah, 55 years.
Yeah, he got a long reign.
It's a long time.
And he started at 12 years old.
12 years old.
Listen, I know
That's
12-year-olds. None of them are kings.
Well, no, I wouldn't want them to be king either, but...
Well, it's like one of the other kings we're talking about is Josiah. I have a son named Josiah who's fixing to turn 8.
He's ready.
That's when Josiah in the Bible became king. I'm like, there's no way I put my kid
He's
on.
ready.
I wouldn't put him in charge of a
juice
lawnmower.
I want juice boxes and crackers for everybody.
Turn that TV on.
Interesting kingdom.
Yeah, exactly.
Where's the king? Nap time.
Yeah.
Dude, just sleep, man.
And no bedtimes.
Damn, place I want. I'm king.
Yeah. So, you got to wonder about putting him on the throne at 12 and 8. And, I mean, it's just crazy to me. But before we get too far ahead, let's go back to Hezekiah. So Hezekiah has a son in the last years of his life. It's Manasseh. That's going to lead up to some big problems here in just a minute. But also what he does is there's some envoys that come from Babylon. And Hezekiah, I guess, is a little prideful, if you will.
I think that's my
Or he
thought
was
as
just-
well.
Just so naive and maybe unaware.
The commentary says that it was both politics and pride.
Okay.
Is what they're assuming as well. Obviously, nobody knows. But he probably made them in an attempt to win Judah's support against Assyria.
Yeah, trying to show him that he was all this great.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty awesome. Look at all my stuff. I have a lot of it. But yeah, doesn't go well.
No.
Shouldn't be showing your treasures to
Enemy.
Babylon of all people. They're not great. They're not good guys.
No.
Yeah.
They're not your friends.
No, they're not.
No.
And then God sends Isaiah the prophet again. And I like this exchange. What Isaiah the prophet went to King Hezekiah and asked, "What did those men say, and where did they come from?" "From a distant land," Hezekiah replied. "They came from Babylon." The prophet asked, "What did they see in your palace?" "Well, they saw everything in my palace. There's nothing among my treasures I did not show them." And that's where I wish I could watch it and see his face when he's saying these things.
Yeah.
Because, in some movies, there's always that character just oblivious, has no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, they saw it all.
Why do you ask?
I just wonder if he was like, yeah, no, they saw it. Oh, wait, they saw everything. Oh, no.
Yeah.
It's
If
a
it
curious
clicked.
thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
It's kind of like Chandler and Joey. Get there faster!
Get there faster! It's probably how Isaiah's feeling right now.
Yeah.
It's like, are you...
Think about that for a little bit.
Say it one more time. A little slower. Yep. And then after he tells him this, Isaiah said to Hezekiah, "Hear the word of the Lord. The time will surely come with everything in your palace and all that your predecessors have stored up until this day will be carried off to Babylon. Nothing will be left, says the Lord."
So then what you said earlier makes sense. So they were already headed into captivity, regardless of whether Manasseh was on the throne or not.
I believe so, yeah.
I think Manasseh hurried it up.
It made it a little bit worse.
I don't think anything to help the matter,
No.
but...
No, but yeah, Hezekiah's response is interesting. It says, "The word of the Lord you have spoken is good. For he thought, will there not be peace and security in my lifetime?"
So he didn't really care because it's going to be his kid's problem.
Yep.
Peace out.
I'm dying.
I'm gonna die.
I understand I have made a oopsie,
Yeah.
but
Go tell Manasseh.
go ahead and pass that
That
along.
12-year-old over there, talk
He's
to
in
him.
school right now. Go let him know. I'm going to take a nap.
Pass me my juice box.
Pretty much. That's how he seems to respond. It's like, oh well, that's a problem for future.
Yeah, my
not
bad,
me.
but I'm not going to be here.
Yeah. And then, of course, all the other events of Hezekiah's reigns are archived. And he rested with his ancestor, and his son Manasseh succeeds him as king.
And the spiral gets accelerated.
Yep.
If you will.
Yeah.
So you're going to kind of notice a phase throughout kings. You have good kings, you have some bad kings. I think we have more bad kings than we have good kings.
Yeah.
Seems that way.
And we have a rapid transition. Some kings, they seem to go through them pretty fast. Which I find interesting too, because as you read this, you'll find some of them have been assassinated by their advisors and everybody else.
Yeah.
So it just proves to me that, there's nothing new under the sun. The kind of things that are happening today have been happening for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what I want to kind of point out from the Christian perspective here is that the way you live your life really does have an effect on things.
Yes.
Okay. Things were pretty good in the rule of Hezekiah because why? He was following the Lord.
He's a godly king.
Mm-hmm. When Manasseh takes over, that's not the case.
Not a godly king.
Things begin to spiral very quickly downhill.
Yes.
So the way you live your life really has an effect on people around you as well. Now, granted, these are kings, so they have a lot more pull, if you will.
Right.
But still, even in your own world, if you're a Christian, that should have some bearing and effect on the people that you work with and the people you're around.
It should change the way you act, too.
Absolutely. And we've talked about a little about that, too. But just being the Christian, there should be something that the people notice, first of all, that is different. But it just should just affect things. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, it should naturally affect things by the way you're acting and what you're going with and what you're not going with.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when I'm at work, there are certain jokes that people won't say around me because they do know I'm a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Which is good because I'd probably laugh at those jokes anyway, and that would just be bad.
And I feel bad.
It'll be bad for your witness.
Yeah, and then I'd be like, oh man, it's true. It's guys, I'm not supposed to laugh at that. No, but you get the point. Yep. Just being a Christian, there should be a natural change around you. People should just see that and understand it.
Yes.
And if they're not, then I would kind of say that then you're probably not being the Christian you should be.
Some self-reflection.
Yeah. And so just having Jesus in your life should make a difference in some way.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Granted, like you said, it should make a change. Absolutely. We should be changing ourselves to be more like Jesus all the time.
Yeah.
But just the people around us should notice a difference.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
And then, like you said, you should notice that as well.
And when the kings were following the Lord, what are the kind of things that you could tell from around them that the Lord was blessing them with? Well, there was peace a lot of times. You know what I'm saying? Yep. They were blessed. Where do you think all those riches came from that Hezekiah was showing off?
Yeah,
you know
he didn't win those on his own.
No, it was all part of the Lord. And why? Because he was following the Lord.
Yep.
So the way you live your life is just extremely important. And if you're a Christian, that kind of should show through, and that should affect people. It should affect you, first of all, which we know.
Right.
But it also should affect people around you, and they should know.
Yeah, that's the hope. That you're conducting yourself in such a way that you begin to have a positive turn on your own environment, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. And you shouldn't have to say, oh, hey, I'm a Christian. It just should, as time goes, they should just begin to see that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I struggle with that because I feel like in our world, I don't like it when people say, well, I'm a Christian. You know what I'm saying? Because there's so many connotations that go with being a Christian. Yes. I want to see it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You can tell me all you want, but
yeah, what I want to see is I want to see Jesus working in your life. You know, I was having a conversation with somebody, and he told me that he was, reading the Bible and stuff every day. Okay, boom, I can see that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That makes sense. So those are the kind of things that, you just have to be careful because as a Christian, people are always watching.
Mm-hmm.
But more than that, you should be affecting the environment around you. That's just the way it should work.
Absolutely.
All right. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Find out about Manasseh.
Mm-hmm.
Not a great guy.